Hey everybody, I hope that you are having a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope that you were able to eat up and gobble up as much of, well, no, you don't need that much turkey and stuff like that, but hopefully you had enough delicacies and that you had a good time with friends and family and all that kind of stuff. I woke up this morning like every muscle in my body was just absolutely sore. It sucks getting old. Body does not respond the way it used to. And that's really our theme for today, talking about how it is getting older, you know. I think I have a different perspective than probably most of my viewers here. Looking at my analytics, it would probably say that most of you are in your 20s and 30s, 70% male, 30% female, and so I'm probably older than most of my audience. I just turned 50, and I know some of you are going, young man, shut up. You don't know nothing about getting old. Let me tell you all about it. And to that I say, all right, I'll get there eventually if the Lord graces me that. But nevertheless, there were some blessings to getting older, and then there were some challenges, I'll just say, you know. I remember, let me share this with you. My son was on his, the Babe Ruth League, baseball league, and took him, signed him up, all that kind of stuff, and looked like they needed some help, so I volunteered to help coach, and so here I am now, coaching, assistant coaching a baseball team for my son, and we're inside doing balls, batting practice, things of that nature, and we're sitting in a little dugout area, and all of a sudden, one of these balls, pop, foul ball. I said, hey guys, sit right here, I'll get it. So we're sitting in a little dugout area. There was a fence probably maybe came up to about here to me, right? And now, mind you, this is probably about 20 years ago, right? About 20 years ago. So I'm 30-ish, right there, right? In my early 30s. And I go, the fence was something that I could just think about jumping over and could easily jump over. And, even I've got a small frame as far as height-wise concerned. I'm 5'7", and 5'8". See, I say 5'7" because for the longest it was 5'7", and when I got that one more inch, I was like, wow. Well, really, I was 5'7 3/4", and somehow I gained a 1/4 inch between 17 and 20, somewhere around there. Anyway, back to the story. I was, where was I in the story? Okay, anyway, in the dugout right there, did you see what just happened here? Hold on a second. Did y'all see what just happened? That's one of the side effects also of getting older, okay? You'd be like, Sometimes you walk into a room like, what did I come in here for? Oh, I was calling to get the remote control. Oh, here's another one. Some of y'all can. Honey, kids, has anybody seen my glasses? What glasses? My sunglasses. Oh, they're right there. Okay. Some of y'all in here understand exactly what I'm talking about. So back to the story. We were in the dugout right there, and that ball pop, foul ball. And I get onto that fence, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going easy peasy. And I grab that fence, and I try to pull myself over and kick my legs over to get onto the other side of it, and wouldn't clear. But it got close, almost to the top, right there, quarter inch maybe a half inch more would have cleared me, right? So now I'm like looking at this thing going, oh, you want to play with me, right? Because I'll tell you what, even at my short frame when I was in high school, I could get up and grab the rim of a basketball, right? The only reason I couldn't really dunk it wasn't because of me not being able to get up there, my vertical. It was my hand size. I just couldn't grip the ball. But if I could grip that ball, I could take a small ball and dunk a regular court. I just couldn't take a regular basketball, all right? So I got the hops for it, right? I was known for the hops. In high school, I'd be kicking ceilings, like literally jumping up and kicking the ceilings, all right? So I'm sitting here looking at this thing. You ain't nothing. And it said, oh, really? I don't care how strong you were. Well, so I'm looking at it, and I'm a very competitive type of person. I was a wrestler in high school. Matter of fact, that was my sport. That was my sport. Even this old man still got a little bit from the past. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. So I'm looking at it very competitive. So I'm looking challenge accepted. You know what I mean? And so I did it. I probably looked like a little kid because I got frustrated and I'm going back like, ugh, and you keep hearing the sound like, man, the metal sound. I can still hear it echoing in my head right now. Seriously. And then I just remember a moment. This is a moment, y'all. Y'all gonna get to this moment at some point. It might not be doing what I just did, but you're gonna get to this moment. I'm staring at that thing. I'm like, okay. I'm gonna walk around and go get the ball, y'all. And I took myself from that dugout and I walked all the way around that fence to get the ball. And I threw the ball back into play. And my pride was walking with me. I'm like, man, is it over? Is it over? It's not over. It's not over. But look, here's the point. Life changes. No matter how strong you are, no matter how fast you are, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how strong and mighty and powerful and educated and financially literate, and no matter, at some point, it diminishes. There are some people that once life changes and shifts, they can no longer function anymore, right? And then there are others that go, you know what? Okay, I might not be able to do that, but I'll be able to do this. And you'll see this just in regular life. Go to the basketball courts, right? Go on to the courts, and sometimes you'll see some OGs on there on the court, right? Yeah, you see the OGs on the court. What do you see the OGs doing? They get their spot. They're not running around after the ball all over. They find their spots. Post up, shoot from their spot. They're waiting patiently. They're not going to expend all that energy running all around, all over the place, right? They're using more of this than they are this. That's the difference, right? Isn't that the difference? You change and you shift and, and all of these type of things, and you learn and you recognize that you're in a new season. You recognize you're in a new place. You recognize there's new things. Newness shouldn't scare us, y'all. Right now, we got a lot going on right now. AI technology, and I've been talking to some people. Say, first of all, I love AI technology. I use it, I promote it, all that kind of stuff. My backgrounds are AI. Some of my scripts it helps me to brainstorm ideas. So I am using this stuff. But I talk to some people and they go, "You better not touch that. You better not use that." And it's fear. It reminds me. There was this. What's the name of that? Who Moved My Cheese? Do you remember that book? Okay, well, if you don't know anything about the book, there's 4 mice that are inside of a maze, and in one of the stations, cheese comes into that station. Cheese, food, right? Provisions. Someone is providing, and the provisions are there every day they get there. So they don't have to worry about it. Some mounds and mounds and mounds of cheese. Okay. But one day, they go to that area where the cheese is, where the provisions are, where the stuff is, and it's empty. It's empty. There's no cheese, and they're sitting there scratching their heads and looking around and pacing and wondering, well, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And so they hang around and they say, well, let's check back tomorrow, maybe something's off or whatever. So they come back the next day, and guess what? There's no cheese. Then they come back another day, again, no cheese. And all of a sudden they go, and I don't really remember how many days it was, but here's the key. There were 2 Sniff and Scurry. The Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw were the 4 names. Sniff and Scurry decided, they go, I guess there's no cheese. And in the animated version, I see them, they're tying their sneakers, they're getting themselves prepared to go. They see there's no provisions. They see there's no more. They see that what's old is done, is gone, or, whatever. And so they venture out into the maze. And here's the important part, the maze, because it's a maze. You know what a maze is. A maze means you don't have a clear direction. So you're in this maze that's going in all these different directions, and they never entered into that maze until there was no more provisions over here. But once there were no more provisions, they had the mentality, they had the mindset that said, you know what, we can't stay here. There's nothing more for us here. And so they said, let's go out and venture and find some new cheese. And that's what they were doing. They left their comforts. They recognized that things had changed, and it's time to move and embrace the change and venture out into embrace the newness of what now is. Well, Sniff and Scurry went out, and Hem and Haw stayed there and hemmed and hawed. Very convenient. So they hemmed and hawed, and they were complaining, like, who took the cheese, and who took my cheese, and where's my cheese, and all this type of stuff. And all they were doing was complaining and all about the situation. And that's what happens a lot of times when changes come about. Come on, let's be honest. You on the job, and they say there's a new policy getting in place. And what do we start doing? Oh, why do we need a new policy? What was wrong with the old policy? We should have just did this, or we should have went back to even what we were doing old in the past. And all these type of things, the first thing we do is, the fact is, people are resistant to change. But here's the issue with that. Change is always happening. The only constant is change. It's going to happen whether you want it or not. So hem and haw continue to hem and haw. And they continue to cry about what was and what wasn't, and the way things used to be. But here's the key: while they continued to sit there and hem and haw, there was no food. They were dying. They were dying. Finally, one of them said, "I'm going to venture out." The other, hem, haw says, "I'm good. I'm going to sit right here until they bring me back my cheese." And he stayed there. And so Hem has to look back and go, "All right, I'll venture out into this maze by myself, but I'm gonna go." And he ventures out. And he's scared. And he's fearful. And he walks out into this maze with little direction. And it's scary, but finally he sees his friends sniff and scurry. And he finds them on this big mound of cheese that they found. And they rejoice together. And he says, "Well, you know what? I gotta go back and get him. I gotta go back." You know what? I was gonna turn off. I'm gonna just let it go. I'm so used to whenever I hear some outside influence sounds and things of that nature to just turn it off. But I'm gonna just keep going. It wasn't that bad anyway. But he said, I gotta go back and get my friend. And so him goes back to see Hall. Or is it Hall that went back to see him? One of them went back to see the other one, him or Hall. And they're reunited again. But they're back at the same station A, the food station A. And he says, "Hey, I found Sniff and Scurry, and we found a whole bunch of this new cheese." And his buddy was there, still in his face. And he's like, "Well, I don't want that new cheese. I want the old cheese. And I'm not going anywhere until they bring my old cheese back, just like it was." Now, I want you to just think about all the different pieces of that whole thing, because now he had to leave his friend and go back to Sniff and Scurry, and they would eat the new cheese, and they would venture out into new adventures and all that kind of stuff. All right. And here's the key. Whenever there's change, there are people that say, "Hey, I'm gonna roll with the flow." All right. You've seen some of them when they start getting older and stuff like that. And even though you're older, don't mean you gotta act old and be old and stuff like that. You just gotta change things up a little bit, right? There are some people that are easy to just adapt and move and flow and kind of roll with the punches and say, "Hey, this is something new. This is a new idea. Here's a new venture. Here's a new possibilities. Here's something that's new and fresh. And let's go at least try to explore it," and all that kind of stuff. And then there are others that go, I just want what I always had. Don't try to be cute. Give me nothing new. I don't want it. All right. And so whenever there's change, there comes all of these different things, part of the whole change process. You've got some early adopters. You've got some people that when the change comes and they're like, "Let's jump on it, and let's jump on it right now." Matter of fact, I used AI as a illustration, as a example. And I noticed that there were some people that I didn't know where they even came from, and they started putting up AI videos and instructionals, and they didn't know, they weren't truly experts, but they were doing research at the same time as AI is building and expanding and all of that. And you see that as an opportunity because you see the newness of it, this new venture, this new, it creates more opportunities, right? It creates spaces where there were no spaces. But something like that is fearful to some people. Some people that is only dread. They dread what's new. And they hold on to the old ways, and as if that the old ways weren't new at some point too. That's the crazy part. The old ways at some point were new innovations and ideas and fresh, and yet at some point sometimes it just, and when you've got disruptors and change agents and all this kind of stuff, oh man, people get a little upset about that. But man, I went into change. I was talking about being old. Being old sucks, and it kind of took me in a whole nother direction, didn't it? But I think it was a needed direction now. That's why I didn't stop it. I knew I was off my original topic, but I think it was important to say. I think it was important to say nevertheless. So I hope you thought it was important to say. And just in case I didn't emphasize this enough, since it is the title of this, getting old really does suck. But truthfully, it's really not that bad. Here's the key. And so let me now talk to my younger audience. You are going to grow older, Lord willing. And when you're growing older, start preparing now. Start preparing now. And now I'm just going to give you little heart-to-heart stuff, all right? Money. Money's going to be important the older you get. Like right now at 50, I'm going to blink eyes and I'll be 60. Blink eye another time and I'll be 65, retiring. So to me, that's almost amazing for me to say I'm 15 years close to retirement or anything like that. But here's the reason I'm bringing that up. It feels like I was just 18 yesterday. It goes quick, and sometimes you may not have enough time later to catch up. Let me just say this. Start practicing delayed gratification. Delayed gratification. And I'm not talking about any X-rated or just something like that, all right? I'm talking about delaying, wanting a certain style. I'll just say it like this. Sometimes as youth, and I was in the same thing, I wanted to flash that everyone else had. I wanted to look like the 50-year-old, drive the same car as a husband and wife that have been married for 30 years, have the same type of house and car and all that stuff, to look like the Joneses and look like I'm successful and look like we're achieving and look like, right? But you know what? I'm gonna drop this little story on here for you because I think it'll bless somebody. My wife and I, when we got married, we said, because this is a financial thing, we looked at our finances right before we were getting married, and we determined how much money we wanted to comfortably live. We didn't want all our money going just to your house, just to paying bills and all, and not being able to live and do anything. So we created our budget, and we created a budget that would allow us to breathe a little and live a little and all of that. But so one of the major things we did was housing, one of your biggest expenses. We said we would only buy a house in the $130,000 range and below. 130 and below gave us enough flexibility to be able to manage our other bills and student loans and things of that nature. So we said we stuck to that, and that was such a blessing because it was so hard not to. Because we're looking at the market and we're looking at the houses that are on the market. And listen, I mean, I know this is back then, but it was still 130 was still not a whole lot of money for a house in the areas we were looking. So I remember talking to one of the mortgage people, and they were like, "You're not gonna find nothing for the 130." And we had some stipulations. We wanted to have either a single family home, it could be a twin home, or if it was going to be a row home, it would have to be the corner, and that's what we actually got. We got a beautiful corner townhome with a wraparound deck. We were the first ones to be able to get in to see it. It was the exact price we wanted. And here's what I want to tell you. We waited. We waited to find the house we could afford instead of just buying the house that people were pushing us. Because the mortgage people were saying, you're never going to find a house with all the stipulations you have for 130. Look at the market. Look at it. And we were like, well, I'm not going to compromise on this. That's what we can afford, and we're not going to overextend ourselves from the very beginning. And we stuck to our guns, and we waited until the right conditions existed, right? And so that's just an example, a small example, because that paid off great dividends in our future, right? The fact that even when we sold it for a nice profit. We moved that money into our current home. I mean, there was just a whole lot of things that set us up, but we were set up because we were able to maintain it. We were able to still live and not feel the constraints and the strain and the pressure. I mean, you still have it, don't get me wrong. You're still going to have it anyway. But don't put undue pressure on yourself by overextending yourself. It's a stressful thing to try to get out of. I got another story to tell you, but I think I'm going to save it for later. We've been going about a good half hour right now, and I know you hear that. Yeah, the school buses are coming. So, and that means the wife is getting ready to come and a lot of other people coming too. So I might just shut it down right now. Talk to you guys on the next one. Just remember, keep your head up, keep looking up, keep looking within also, and recognizing that you are great. God doesn't make junk, so he didn't make you, and you're not junk. So just keep your head up, keep moving forward, and look forward to talking to you in the next one, okay? God bless. I think I'm going to do a nice role play tomorrow. Matter of fact, put in the comments below what I should do. All right, put in the comments below. I'm going to pick one of you guys, one of your topics, one of your ideas to do a role play on tomorrow. All right, take care. Be blessed.